how can you make a real difference and how can food can contribute to a better planet? Those are some of the questions that we are going to answer today in this new episode of the Gen E podcast. As you know, Gen E is the largest youth entrepreneurship festival that this year 2024 took place in Catania in Italy, and it is possible only because we have great partners who believe, like JA, in the power of the next generation to change the future in which they will live in. Indeed, we are talking about the future in which the young generation will live in. So, the decision of today will shape the future of tomorrow, also when it comes to food. And when talking about food, who you ask for? You ask those one who think about the future of it. So from the European Institute of Technology Food, EIT Food, I am so glad to have with me Richard Zaltzman, which is the CEO of EIT Food. Hello, Richard.
Hi, Salvatore. What an amazing introduction. Thank you. Delighted to be here.
Oh, so good. Well, I'm Italian, so we have a special relations with food. I'm glad that I have you here. So let's see if I can deep dive a little bit more on some of the things I'm more interested, even personally. Talking about personal stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I want to ask the CEO of EIT Food what was his dream job when he was a young person, when he was a kid. What was your dream job?
Wow. Okay. I mean, you go through so many things when you're young, aren't you? Don't you? So I think probably, actually, my background, my grandfather on my father's side was a farmer, and in South Africa actually. And I remember going to the farm only once and thinking, wow, this is really different. I would love to work in this farming environment. So there was definitely a connection to farming and agriculture early in my life. I knew the family history, and to actually go there and see the farm was a really moving experience for me. And then life takes some different turns. At one point, I thought I wanted to be a chemist, and then I realized quite how clever you have to be a brilliant chemist. And again, life changed, and I went through technology, which I would recommend anybody gives themselves some experience in the technology sector. It's so valuable, the skills you need as an entrepreneur. And then I found myself in sustainability, and that was very much where I wanted to get to ultimately, and where I am today.
So it was a big route, but actually there are some pillars that you've been following throughout your career. Well, nice to hear that, because also my grandfather was a farmer and I was born and raised in a farm. So we do have some connection over there. But there are also some connection because I understand I was the first one who interviewed you on your first day as CEO of
You
EIT
did.
Food
Yeah,
at Davos and the World Economic Forum. We were both there, actually. Uh,
absolutely.
so we are a few months into your new jobs, your new role. First impressions.
It's fantastic. It's an amazing community that we work in the food sector generally. So anyone listening to this podcast who's got an interest in food, thank you very much for your energy, passion, enthusiasm to bring to this sector. We're really privileged, aren't we, Salvatore, to work in a space where there's so much energy, so much optimism, and some big challenges. Let's be serious. There are big challenges. So I find it fascinating every day. It's been a whirlwind 6 months in this role, never a dull day. And I'm really looking forward to the future. It's really,
Definitely,
really
I
exciting.
could see from your social that you're not getting bored at all in your position. Right, places, a lot of interviews, a lot of things. That's great. So we're very honored to have you at Jenny Podcast. Now, talking about the sector, as you mentioned, let me explore a little bit more. What are the most exciting trends and innovation in sustainable food production today?
Yeah, look, food production is such a big environment. Let's start at the farm, and then we'll end up at the consumer. So on the farm, if you look at what's been going on globally, post-war, we started farming with this real need to produce secure food for everybody. Now that's taken us down a route of farming that has produced a lot of food, has certainly reduced food poverty. It's made sure everybody has food on their plate, certainly within Europe, every day pretty much. But there's been a really heavy cost to pay. And that cost is in the soil, really, the land from which we grow food has really degraded. It's paid the price for this intensive agriculture. So for me, one of the most exciting trends on the farm is the work on regenerative agriculture. This is really looking at a landscape and trying to bring it back to life, so that instead of the huge dependence on artificial inputs, so fertilizers, pesticides, herbicides, you work much more with the land, and the land itself is regenerative, and therefore the crops that come off that land take an awful lot less input. They're lower carbon by default, but also we're starting to see their higher nutrition values of those crops. So there's in a way, it's innovating, going back to farming practices of several hundred years ago, but at the same time, there's real innovation in how do we use the technology we have today, for example, for precision in that regenerative farming environment. How can we use measuring technology? How can we use drones to help farmers do the best thing at the best time, very, very precisely? There's a huge amount going on there. And I think for young farmers coming in, they've got a whole different paradigm they can move to. It's risky. It takes the brave to do it, and really excited to see what's going on.
Let me follow up on that, exactly about young farmers, about the young generation. What kind and how much of interest you see in the young generation you're witnessing to address some of the agri-food system challenges? Because, it looks like sometimes the sector is, oh, well, we don't want to work in that. We don't want to invest in that. This is not, people, as you said, focusing a lot on technology, but how do I apply technology actually in the food industry and in the food sector?
Yeah, look, we're seeing interest from young people all the way through. I think, again, at the farm level, it is difficult. Farming has been a multi-generational thing. We're seeing the average age of farmers getting older and older. But again, we're also seeing some young farmers come into this arena with real vision, with entrepreneurship. More broadly, EIT Food launched an initiative called Future Food Makers in 2021, really to bring the views of the young generation through. That was really successful. We saw 10 amazing young people develop a Menu for Change manifesto. They released a follow-up report in 23. So we're seeing people who want to put their time and energy into this. We also very recently launched a program called the Young Professionals Platform, which is all about youth-led collaboration in the agri-food sector. Very recently, the 25th of June, they came to Leuven for their first face-to-face workshop. We saw founding members, including the Young Professionals in Agriculture and Rural Development, IAAS, an alternative protein project at EIT Food, supported by GFI, bringing lots of young people together. Those organizations represent thousands of young people. The people who turned up to the workshop are the really representatives of a community that's really engaged. So I'm hugely optimistic that young people are interested in food. They are interested in the sustainability requirements of the future food system, and they're committing themselves and their time and their energy into this space, which we couldn't ask them more.
So it's not only about the interest, but they're actually also providing solutions to address sustainable agri-food systems, right? And it comes really from them. Do you think the system is supporting? Do we have enough resources to support those young innovators to succeed in this system? Resources are always limited, right? And then it's always a trade-off. Where do you put those resources? So do you think in the food industry that there is enough, or we should definitely both ask for more?
So there are resources, but absolutely we need more. And they're not always money resources. So if we just think about access to funding, innovators, young or old, need access to funding. I think what I do see is our young innovators tend to be really, really smart at how they use money. I remember meeting IAAS at COP, and what they do with tiny amounts of money is really astonishing. So to your audience, yes, I know all innovators need money ultimately, but I love the way young people think about that totally differently, and they do amazing things with relatively small amounts of money. We need to help people develop their ideas, and we do this with a number of programs at EIT Food, like our Seedbed program and our Food Accelerator Network. But there's a lot more we can do: hackathons, giving support to people to bring their ideas to life, mentorship. Wherever you go with MBA, or whether you just start a business down the pub with a friend, mentorship is really critical to bring ideas to life. There's a lot more we can do, I think, to connect the food community and the experience in the food community to the young people who want to bring their ideas through. We've got events, etc. But this is an easy win to create those mentoring relationships. And then maybe more formally, training and education. in all sorts of areas. Some of it is food related, but also areas like business development, marketing, technology. All of these things are really critical enablers for anybody to succeed. And the earlier we start with that training and education, the better the chances are for young innovators to succeed. Visibility.
The earliest we start. Let me think about an organization that's training,
Yeah.
development, has been doing this
Who
for
can we go
100.
to? Who can we
It's
go
been
to?
has been done this for 105 years only about that. Okay, I think you're talking about JA, but this is leading me to the next question. We also talked
Exactly.
about actually hackathons, right? So can you give me some of the success story of those programs that we also brought together out there?
Yeah, look, we was it 2023? We did Foodathon. Really, really great event. We saw lots of teams of people bring great ideas. I think V-Fiber was a young team of Greek and Ghanaian students. Really revolutionary idea to make fabric from discarded coffee grounds. So you think about that. Just think about how you come up with the idea, genius, and that obviously then is using a waste stream from the coffee sector, coffee making businesses. It stops waste going to landfill. It produces a product that creates extra value. Otherwise, often you have to pay for waste. It really, really smart. It's exactly those sorts of things that we're looking for innovators to bring through.
And there is an added value to that foodathon because we brought together people from Greece and from Ghana, actually. So there was a European African joint team who developed a joint solution, right? They did not compete one against the other. They actually created a joint solution. And I was so happy to be in Catania just last week with the people of V-Fiber that we brought it out there. As you might know, that the winner of the company of the year of Jenny. So every year we have 400,000 young people. Let me repeat this for the audience. Every year we have 400,000 young people that in September they start their mini company or their startup at JA for getting that title, Company of the Year, in July. So there was a team that won that title this year. Do you know that? What team is it? Trevor,
it
yes,
is Trevor.
Trevor.
Okay.
Trevor from
Robotics would, yes.
Austria. Yeah, Trevor from Austria. They've been. They won this year the EIT Secure Future Award 2024, and they also won the Company of the Year of Jenny. It's an impressive team of young people from Austria. Absolutely.
And these guys make noodles they make noodles from grain that otherwise would be fed to cattle, from the beer making process. Again, really smart thinking. Take something that's going to go to waste and turn it into something that's really valuable. And you've got so many benefits from doing that. You make money, right? You take something that's worth nothing and you turn it into value. But also the sustainability impacts of that are enormous. You're not just throwing away a resource that's going to create methane or carbon. You're going to turn it into something valuable for society. It's those kind of ideas that we love to see coming through.
And I'm so glad to see that thanks to your support, because they've been the first participating in our joint programs, then they went all the way through also to become Company of the Year of Jenny of JA in Europe. But there are other initiatives that we are collaborating together. Do you want to tell me a little bit more about DTTI Action in Food?
Yeah, DTTI, Deep Tech Talent Initiative. So this is a European initiative really to try and train millions of people with the type of technology capabilities we need, AI, robotics, machine learning, etc. So the initiative we're working on, the Action in Food initiative, this is a really innovative education program all about embedding AI into JA's flagship program for students in upper secondary schools. So over the next 18 months, I think we're looking for 18,000 students to embed AI into their food businesses and services, right? So think about that.
What revolution.
Yeah. So those kind of skills, I mean, everyone's talking about AI right now. If I was being a little bit blunt, not many people actually know what it really means. What does it really mean to have artificial intelligence? Often actually people are using technology. It might be machine learning, it might just be clever technology, but to really get 18,000 people switching their brains on, switching their ideas on to use AI, it's going to be really transformational. And
changing
then
it for the agri-food sector. So it's amazing,
completely.
absolutely. And let me close the loop here, because we started with our meeting in Davos, and you might be very glad to know that the AI for Entrepreneurship program of JA was just selected by the World Economic Forum as one of the 8 best program in the world. One of the 8 best program in the world. We're very glad, and very glad to have you as a partner, continuing to delivering to thousands and thousands of young people. Any closing word, Richard, to
But,
advise to the young people who really want to continue investing to this sector?
number one, invest in your own education. So I think it's so critical. It's a complex world in the food sector. It's a complex world in interfaces like AI in food. So invest in your education, and that's with organizations like JA, but it's also just in the time you spend. Education is talking to a mentor. Education is talking to somebody else who's created a startup. So if you're listening to this podcast, it's because you care. So keep going. Well done for even being here, spending this 15 minutes to listen, but just keep investing in your education. 2, keep the smile on your face. I'm looking at Salvatore here. You haven't stopped smiling all the way through the podcast. It can be a difficult arena. You can look outside and think, oh, where do we start? Just keep the smile on, keep going. You've got great ideas, bring them to life. Some are going to work, some are not going to work. And we learn just as well from both of those scenarios. So yeah, learn, smile, keep your ideas going forward. And as you said, this generation of people are going to have a really transformational impact, certainly in food and much more broadly, I think, globally.
Keep learning, keep investing, keep smiling, and keep sharing and liking a podcast like this. You will find us on YouTube and Spotify more and more. Thank you so much to the CEO of EIT Food, Richard Zaltzman. Thank you so much for EIT Food partnership that is advancing and empowering the next generation of Europeans.